Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Rock and Roll podcast. Check out this record. My name is Frank, and with me is my good buddy Mark. And my friend for this episode, we're going to be fast and reckless coachmen. I'll explain shortly. Mark, what do you have to say, man?
Hey, Frank. Oh, hey there, listener. I didn't see you standing there. I don't have anything funny to say. Yeah.
That's what you want to say, right?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Listen, you could always find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts, and you can see our mugs on YouTube.
Yeah. Frank, don't forget to tell the nice folks that new episodes drop each and every Friday-ish or whenever we get around to doing it. Apologies for skipping, basically all of November, but life happens.
It sure does. And if you're hearing us for the first time, hey, you're not annoyed with us or one of our past reviews. Just wait. We review records track by track, lots of musical discussion, spotlight episodes, might include some mysteries in the world. Ooh. And we just scratch the surface and we're getting warmed up, Mark, getting warmed up.
That's right. Okay, so you definitely want to check out our Verse series where Frank and I will duke it out on behalf of two bands or albums or whatever, of course, in the name of total stereo domination, don't you know?
I like the don't you know.
Yeah, I thought you'd appreciate that.
Yeah, man. And while you're checking this out, while you're checking that stuff out, make sure to check us out on Instagram, Facebook group. Hopefully these episodes will leave you wanting more of our musical goodness. And Mark, well, it's our buddy Marc over here. And if you got records you want us to talk about that are not you two, drop a comment wherever you find us. While you're at it, like, subscribe, rate, review. So I say this, Mark, if names were to be a reflection of the quality of the band or what they would sound like, well, then for this episode, we would be really up Schitt's Creek, Blues Brothers style. So when I'm telling you, Mark, to listen, the last time we spoke, to a band with the name of Drive Like Jehu, what are you thinking here?
I would guess obscure 80s, 90s indie rock from a college town somewhere in the South. But honestly, that's just because of such a weird name. It doesn't fit into like the 60s or 70s weird name thing. And since it's kind of got that biblical reference, I'm guessing the Bible Belt or below. That would be that's where the name pushed me.
Right.
I don't know.
It's definitely an odd name. So let's talk about this band. So this band in their initial run was only around for 5 years, which is crazy. They actually formed in San Diego in 1990. And the band
it's below
it is below
the Bible Belt. It's like the butt of the Bible Belt under there.
Yeah, it's south
because we're from Florida and everyone knows what we are.
Bing bing. Yeah. The band consists of Rich Froberg, who's on vocals and guitars, John Rise on lead guitar, who were both members of their previous band called Pitchfork. Now we have bassist Mike Kennedy and drummer Marc Trombino. So they round up the classic lineup. Now there was a drummer before Trombino, but some of these names, if depending on how nerdy you are in music, might sound familiar. Trombino in particular is actually, Mark, check this out, a multi-platinum record producer and audio engineer. He's produced and mixed tracks for Jimmy Eat World, Blink-182, Starting Line, Finch, Motion City Soundtrack, and All Time Low. Now let's back up to the name of the band, Mark. Sure. Here we go. In the Bible, it's a Hebrew name, right? So let's break it out for a second. So Jehu, Jehovah, is a military commander of Israel who was known for a pell-mell style of chariot driving. So driving ferociously is what we're talking about here, which makes sense based on the sound sonically of the band, right? Now, in the 17th century, English speakers used the term Jehu as a term for like a coachman or a reckless coachman, or today we call them like reckless cab drivers. Okay. So that's kind of what we're going for here. Now that I've bored everybody, right? I made everyone bored. Let's get back to the band. So in 91, the band released their self-titled debut record, which is nowhere on Spotify.
Son of a bitch.
I know, man. Then the band signed to a major label, Interscope, which is crazy. Important to note that the other band that John Rise is in, if his name sounds familiar to those, he's in Rocket from the Crypt. Rocket from the Crypt also dates back to 1990, and they would also be signed to Interscope. So let's now fast forward 4 years, 1994. We have this album at hand, Yank Crime, a major label record called Yank Crime. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
Rise was set on playing guitar with personality. He stated that he wanted to merge himself with the instrument. Perfect segue, Marc, into one of our favorite things to talk about, which is genres.
Yeah.
So this is not your classic sounding rock band or album at all. In fact, this album has longer and more complex songs, which is some could cross into math rock. And I guess, here we go with the words now, emo, before it became what it became in the late 90s and 2000s. Right. So this album was really it was coined as a uncompromising maelstrom of technicality and intricate fury. Lots of questions here, right? So, Marc, my questions to you is, why does this sound so mature for kids who are 26 or so at the time? Why does this brand of rock not only encompass so many different styles and aggressive playing, but also has a timeless element to it, at least to me? And is it because it's more thought through with the structure? There's more space and room to improvise. I guess if hippie jam bands were in a hardcore band, is this what it would be? Listen, I'm having a beef with this being called emo by any source, but Marc, your thoughts on anything that I just barfed out right there?
Yeah, I'm easily confused, so I'm just going to try to work through these backwards if I can. I don't really hear emo in this. I suppose there is a desperation in Rick Frogberg's singing, but that lines up with the band's post-punk, post-hardcore kind of sound. I know that there are those who will point to Rites of Spring and say, well, this is that kind of emo. It's proto, what we know in the 90s and 2000s. It's that, it was so adventurous. That's just what fucking punk rock was in the 70s. That's why I hate the bastardization of that term. Anyways, your next question, no, hippies are too busy listening to the same Fish and Deadhead jams to know a good time when they hear it. I think if we're really trying to pinpoint what genres are being fused together here, I think we're listening to more of a post-punk meets jazz, a predecessor to the Refuse the Shape of Punk to Come. While I'm sure they put a great deal of time into these arrangements, they feel more focused and expressive than those overly simplistic kind of hippie jams can tend to be.
Right.
Plus, Drive Like Jehu clearly doesn't care about what other people think they should sound like, and are pushing themselves in creative new ways for the time. An attribute more related to jazz than any other musical style, in my opinion. As for how these young dudes were able to create such a sound, I think age is a social construct that we use to limit our possibilities, and I don't care to be trapped into such gimmicks. I just dig that these dudes found a less cliche means of expressing themselves.
Yeah, and props to them, because when we were that age, Marc, the sounds that we were making
we sucked.
Far different than this. Oh, man. All right. Well, let's unpack this record and its original track listing, 9 songs, shall we?
I am here for the Frankfurter.
Oh, thank God. Yes. All right. Track 1, Here Comes the Rome Plows. And just like that, we have this fuzzy bass to open up this hostile and really vertical tune here. I actually was under the impression that Rome was in reference to the empire that would fall. It's actually not. No, it's for Rome, Georgia, where armored bulldozers were manufactured. These were used to destroy forests in South Vietnam and Cambodia during the Vietnam War. With the war-like sounds this song is giving us, it all kind of makes sense. There are many lyrics here, or there aren't many lyrics here, but I don't think there needs to be. They're perfectly placed, and more importantly, Marc, they're executed well. Your thoughts on the Rome Plows as the first tune that we're getting here?
Yeah, the ferocity of this intro and the song as the album's intro, should not be played down at all. We get these sweeping bursts of energy paired with perfectly timed and delivered lyrics. Clocking in at just under 6 minutes gives the band plenty of time to explore this song about bulldozers, even if it does go on just a little too long, which when put into context feels like it couldn't have been about anything else. So it's a cool song.
Yeah. Track 2, do you compute? So we start with a 5-minute song and then we go right, or a 6-minute song, and then we go right into a 7-minute track. So do you compute?
Oof.
Like the previous track doesn't have much in the way of lyrics. It's almost a 2-minute intro that sounds like a tip of the cap to Fugazi. Froberg shows us that he could be subtle and with his singing 1 minute and then the next minute be as ferocious as ever. Lots of open fields here to explore, really demonstrate their love for being a cohesive unit. Sometimes I act like I don't like this in songs, and I think back to our band Marc, and we would do a lot of middle breakdowns and extended outros. So it had me thinking about those times. Anyway, Marc, are you computing this track?
A little bit. I'd say that the tip of the hat, or the comparisons to Fugazi, may have been one of the bigger hurdles for this band to cross, if not one of the biggest downfalls. Don't get me wrong, if that's what this is, it's an amazing tribute to a band like Fugazi. However, I can see why people who aren't actively listening would just say something stupid like, "Oh, that's just another Fugazi band."
Damn.
Which would be a ridiculous statement in itself. But people love fucking Nickelback and all kinds of dumb shit. So why wouldn't they pass on something cool just because they didn't get Fugazi? This goes on, as you might imagine, for me, a bit longer than I'd like, but it's a pretty cool track. The minimal lyrics work really for it, and it's got an amazing energy about it that must be felt to be believed.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Track 3, Golden Brown. Actually, one of the shorter songs on this record, and I happen to love everything about it. Nice, disorderly, reckless guitars with trombinos, thunderous drumming. Lyrics again are simple. In fact, here are some of them. I got a single, and I'll guard it with my life. I'm just keeping it off the flies. Yeah, I drank from the tap. I should have left in the pipes. This is my cause and my excuse. I'll take the loss, but I'll get what I got due. Yeah, I ain't burnt, just golden brown. The drinking from the tap, golden brown, Marc, is this an excess drinking tune?
I wouldn't say an excess drinking tune. As you read those lyrics, I thought maybe he was in love with the stripper, but that's just me. Not based solely on the lyrics anyways. It feels more like a song about overextending ourselves and being in denial about being burnt out. Definitely one that hit home for me. I agree with you. It's one of the better tracks on the album.
Yeah, definitely like it for sure. Track 4 is Luau.
Ooh, don't mind if I do. Ow.
There you go. So obviously a Hawaiian rooted term between the words in the songs crimes, failures, purge, turf. I'm sure it has something to do with the exploration of the eventual state and how it was once this and now it's kind of this tourist playground. That's at least what I got out from it. Musically is what we would expect from this band. 4 tracks in, loud, angry, unpredictable. And even though it's 9 minutes, yes, 9 minutes, for me, it didn't drag. I think that's because of the math rock elements, which kept it fresh by switching it up. Marc, will you go with me to a luau, and then what'd you think of the song?
Yeah, I really would like to go to a nice luau. I think that would just be really nice. However, this song, it did drag for me. Lyrically, it's a cool track, but I think they're largely intended to help move the song along and make the changes flow smoothly as opposed to being about any real thing itself. As I mentioned earlier, it drags for me. The simple lyrics don't keep me engaged across the 9 minutes. And eventually it feels like the record is skipping back to the same bits over and over. I could have used like 1/3 of this song and been very happy with it, but is what it is, and it is too long.
There you go. Track 5, Super Unison.
Okay.
What sounds like a late 80s, early 90s Saturday morning cartoon, Marc, right? This could be my favorite track on the album. I love the ambition in this song and how it equally has aggressive parts in each of it. I really like the puzzling and perplexing lyrics. Again, they're so simple, but rousing to the point of emotion. Hence why this is... I feel some sorts of an original incarnation of whatever genre word you want to throw at it. Marc, what say you on Super Unison?
Interesting. Yeah, that opening for 30 seconds of building feedback is for someone. That someone isn't me. For a 7.5 minutes long song, I was expecting more changes and interesting parts. but I'm hearing more and more of the band's pattern of repeating smaller parts for longer and longer stretches. And when initially listening to the song, I was into it, but the more I would, it just began grating with time. I can't help but feel like there's can't help but feel like they're simply trying to extend the length of these songs, as I don't hear much progression in the short of leaving the bass line out for a minute, then bringing it back in, and then building up into a chorus. It works from time to time, but 5 songs in and a good half an hour at this point, my attention is waning something fierce.
There you go. There you go. Well, track 6, new intro. To me, this was a welcoming instrumental. The scoffing, I guess, at the hippie jam bands because of their jamming nature. Maybe one could call me out on that being inaccurate. I do like jams like this.
He does love jam.
I do. This happens to be full of fury, thought. There's a calming wrath to it, and there's turbulence. So basically, it's just a hippie shit I don't care for. But Mark, what about you in this new intro?
I don't know that this is a jam. Jam to me
is it jelly?
Impromptu, and this feels very structured, layered, and intentional to me. This feels as classic of an instrumental as any of like those big heavy metal bands would put in the middle of an album to break it up. Usually you see it as like kind of the intro to a B-side or something. That's what the feeling I got for it. Right. It works for me in that way, at least. I like that it doesn't waste any time and just lays it kind of right out at your feet. We're not doing a ton of filler. We're not stretching this thing longer than it needs to be. I really dig it.
Cool, my friend. Next, we have, sorry, where was I? Here we go. New math.
Yeah, that's where you were.
Thank you. So from new intro, we get new math. Is math in the title because of the reflection of the genre? I don't, probably not, maybe. But one thing is for sure is that riff is really corrosive. I mean, the mentioning of the underwriter and a Ford makes me think it could be about financial turmoil or a sort of, maybe something like that that's being sung about. Mark, what about you on new math?
Frank, I don't think that this is so much about the financial turmoil you heard, and more about the reckless actions that led to people being in such financial troubles. I believe the term new math classically refers to doing something that doesn't add up in a traditional way and excusing it away as the new way of adding, thus new math. Right. So when he speaks of what he can afford, it's less about whether or not he has the money for it, but more about what he's willing to do to get it.
Makes sense.
Might just be me and how I'm reading it. I have no idea. This is actually, it's probably my favorite track so far. I really dig this big building intro and the subsequent rocking out. The band's repetitive nature is on full display here, but with a shorter 4-minute length, it doesn't feel as excessive and works more for me in its favor.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, track 8, Human Interest, a very creative and imagining opening riff that it's like a drill to the teeth, man. This trip to the dentist sounds something like we'd hear on Fugazi's first 2 records, even though we're at the second to last track, and these songs are pretty long. I'm still wrapped up with interest with these songs. Mark, what about you on Human Interest?
Yeah, this and the previous track have done a lot of heavy lifting in terms of keeping me interested here at the back end of the album. But I think that has more to do with my short attention span and undiagnosed ADD. I like the minimalist structure here to Human Interest. It works to keep the songs from getting away from the band and turning into an 8-minute opus. That said, it failed to keep my attention by the end, and I'm ready for the closer.
All right. And here we are. So track 9, Snooze. Another Fugazi style intro, or is it a Drive Like Jehu intro, as I guess they're technically contemporaries? I don't know. Anywho, Snooze can be one of 2 things. It's a piece of tough fibrous tissues uniting muscle to the bone, or the parts of the structure that give it strength and bind it together. Both definitions have the concept of unity based on the first lyric, which I don't see any unity between the 2 people in this song here. But this is our closer. Mark, what about you?
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't see any correlation between those definitions and these lyrics.
Yeah.
I'm also struggling to sit through the 9 minutes of this. The intro, arguably 3.5 minutes, and I'm fading almost to sleep before the lyrics have kicked in and the songs even really started. There are a few odd time changes. I didn't find any of those lyrics compelling, really. And the guitar noise doodles over the chorus only took me further from the song. So this one was actually, the two new songs, if you will, had brought me back up, and this guy kind of let me down here at the end.
Two new songs.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have a theory, and it's a very limited theory. That was the intro to New Math, and they went, "Hey, it's got to be at least 9 songs," and they just cut it off. I only like them. They only like them because they're short, and not only like them because they're short, but their length is doing a lot of lifting. As I mentioned.
I gotcha. Yeah. Well, Marc, that's the record, right? 9 songs. The reissue has 3 additional tracks: "Hand Over Fist," "Bullet Train to Vegas," and an original recording of Sinews. My thoughts are on those songs. They're fun and they sound like a notch above a solid demo, in my opinion. But let's talk about what happened to the band after this record. So in '95, the band quietly disbanded and they never even announced the breakup. It was largely due to Ray's wanting to concentrate on Rocket from the Crypt, who put out 3 releases that year.
That's a busy year.
Busy year, man. They toured extensively. Trombino became a very sought after producer. Kennedy left music to become a chemist, and Froberg moved to NYC to become a visual arts illustrator. Ray's also plays in the band The Night Marchers, and Ray's and Froberg currently play in the band I happen to like, Marc, Hot Snakes. Now Drive Like Jehu. They also reunited from 2014 to 16 to play some shows. So when I think of the band, I think of an experiment, basically, with loud ruckus or post-hardcore sounds as their backdrop. Bands such as Honor Roll and Wipers, who we've shared recently and talked about.
Wipers is cool, dude.
Yeah, they've influenced them greatly, and I could see that their short stint causing them to not be on the radar, say the way Fugazi or Quicksand were. And even though a band like Fugazi was very complex compared to the popular bands, I think Drive Like Jehu even explores further down that hole because of the length of the songs. There's so many things and entanglement being thrown with these antagonistic guitar sounds. It's hard to put your finger on it. And at which time, publications made it hard probably for critics to even try to describe them. Sure. Emo, as we know, was a new term at the time. So I can't get too occupied with it as a label, obviously, as it doesn't equate to the sound from a career perspective. Just something used for that moment in time. To me, though, personally, where I'm at musically, and if I had an electric guitar and 4 guys kind of hanging around, to me, this album rocks. If I could start a band today, I wouldn't say I would be writing 8-9 minute songs. I don't even think I know how to, but I would at least want some structures that are similar there. Believe it or not, for me, this album is a 9 out of 10, Marc.
Wow, man, that's a record, huh?
It is.
There's a lot here that I really did dig. However, I did struggle with it a bit, but again, I think that has more to do with my short attention span and undiagnosed ADD than the content. So while I think people would fall for the misconception that I would be more inclined to like these longer songs in this format as opposed to longer songs of another genre, I think you're missing the point there a little bit. Repetition for folks like me has its limits, and for these longer tracks, don't keep the new ideas coming fast enough. It can be hard to keep me engaged, thus explaining why I was drawn to the much shorter tracks. I really did dig the tone and sound of the band, and really the record itself. I feel like they were trying to push the limits of what people think they could or should sound like, which is always a good thing in my book. Yank Crime is easily twice as long as I would like for it to be. But it's not my record, and all I can do is take it for what it is. I'm giving this a 6.5 out of 10, Frank. It does have some solid replay value in kind of a passive listening way. That's to say, if it were on the background or if you're just driving around with it. Yeah. But without any real lyrical depth that I really crave a lot in bands like this, making active listening far less enjoyable for me. So I'm not picking this one up if I found it in a record store, but I tell you what, I would have absolutely loved to have seen this band live. I bet that
Yeah.
would have been really interesting, especially to see more of that that jamming, right? A little bit more of that impromptu improvisation, especially in a scene like this. Really interesting. I think they would have been phenomenal to see live.
Absolutely. And
Great
hey,
pick.
listen, 6 out of 5 or 6.5 out of 10 is still a solid score. So
Yeah. Hey, look, it's as long as you're over a 4 for me, you should be happy.
and if people, I guess if people can't keep the attention long enough for these 9 and 8 minute songs, give Hot Snakes a try. Their songs are like 2-3 minute long songs. They have a couple that are longer, but they may be more up your alley with a similar sound. Obviously, same couple members that are in the band. So
yeah, no, it's been really interesting, kind of looking at Drive Like Jehu and then the offshoots like Hot Snakes and some of the different things, and seeing how diverse their sound really is.
Rocket from the Crypt is a completely different band.
Absolutely. And it's just like, wow, it's so interesting that they all share that same common point.
Yeah, definitely interesting. Well, Mark, why don't you unveil to us the next episode?
Yeah, absolutely. So as we like to do, I have 4 topics for Frank to pick from.
Number 2,
pick a topic. I will read him a question, and then whether or not he answers it, that's the record we're listening to. So you ready for this? Is category number 1, Frank?
I'm ready for the category number 1, Frank.
Critically acclaimed everywhere but here. That is, of course, the United States of America, because we suck. 2, metal we don't listen to. 3, I told you would want it. You're gonna want to pick that, but you're gonna be a real son of a bitch if you do. Anyways, I mean, I put it on the list, so it's my own fault. Number 3, Chicago punk trios.
Okay.
Number 4, Memphis trios. Don't do it. I mean, you can. It's up to you. Don't do it. I feel like I'm making you do it when I do that. I don't know. Look, this is not. If I usually don't like doing this.
I'm not doing 3 because 3 is. I could tell you it's the Lawrence Arms, right?
Oh, it's not. No.
Well, it's not Alkaline Trio.
No.
All right.
It's like there's more than 2 trios from Chicago.
There you go. 4 was the Memphis
trios, yeah.
Which number 1 was the
critically acclaimed Anywhere But Here, and then 2 is going to be metal we don't listen to.
But you're telling, I think you want me to pick 2, don't you?
I kind of do, because you're going to hate it. I mean, but like, I also don't want you to have to listen to a record you're going to hate. I don't know that you're going to hate it. You'll be like, oh, okay, I get it. But
it's something you like, number 2?
It's something I'm fascinated by. I can't tell you the joke about it unless you pick it.
All right, number 2, man. Let's do it.
Fuck. Okay. All right. This band can be described by these 5 letters.
Okay.
N Y G M Q.
N Y G M Q. N Y G M. Wait, N Y G M Q.
Yep.
What's New York, right?
Yep.
God, I'm so smart. I can only figure out the first 2 letters. It's like right. Is it something right or something? Doom. No, it's not Doom Riders. We already did Doom Riders.
No, we already did Doom Riders. Yep. They were from Massachusetts.
They were from Massachusetts.
You got a big chunk of clue here with New York.
It's a New York metal band.
I mean, it's a kind of metal.
It's a kind. Oh God. Can I get a little bit more dates? Like, kind of like, what time frame are we talking about here?
Early 90s.
Early 90s. Early 90s New York kind of metal band.
Lead singer's now dead.
Lead singer is dead?
Yeah.
He died?
He died. He done did died. I don't know if that helps you at all. I imagine it doesn't.
Is it Madball?
People are dying all the time. No, it's not Madball. Get out of here. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wait a minute, but you like Madball though, and the singer's not dead, is he?
I don't think so.
All right, I give up, Mark. What is it?
So NYGMQ stands for New York Goth Metal Quartet. We are, of course, talking about. I'm going to tell you the joke first. Okay. Well, the band is typo negative, and the joke is there are two kinds of people who like typo negative: people who want to fuck Peter Steele and Peter Steele.
Oh,
so we're gonna do. So it's actually a genre I think is really fascinating. Goth metal. We're doing October Rust, so it's all gonna be very like overly romantic but dark.
Okay.
Goth metal.
Okay. So, all right.
Almost industrial, but it's not.
Outside of name, I have really no knowledge really of typo negative. So
that's the weird thing about them. This is a band that if you've listened to rock music in the last 25 years, you've heard of them.
Absolutely.
But most people haven't heard them. And that's where I was. And I was asking around like, hey, what typo negative should I where should I start? And people just kept coming back to October Rust. This is going to be interesting. It's a goth metal record.
Looking at it here. Here we go. It's the fourth record.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep. There's a couple different releases, so we'll have to find. Remember, folks, we're just doing the classic original release.
Is it this one that's 72 minutes?
I don't think so.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's not nearly that. It's not like an obnoxious drive like Jehu record that's just going to go on and on for days.
Right. They do a Neil Young cover on here?
I believe so.
Cinnamon Girl? Listen, I'm intrigued. I'm actually glad I picked that one.
I think it's going to be interesting. This it's a genre neither one of us is really familiar with.
Not at all. Would they have been on Ozfest when we went back in the day?
Oh, definitely. Okay. Oh, definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah, all of the girls 5'5" and under with big boobs, super into this band.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and some bigger girls too, but all of the ones smaller, definitely.
So if you're 5'7" though, that's not.
It's questionable.
Okay,
but 5'6" and under, and you're definitely into typo negative if you like heavy metal.
Really?
Oh yeah.
All right. Hey, listen, yeah. I'm 5'10", so let's do it.
It could go either way. I
am glad I picked it. I have to be.
I'm kind of glad you picked it too. I had some other fun stuff, but
I can tell you wanted to talk, and I know you wanted to talk about it. I know you did.
I mean, I kind of do, but I kind of don't.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hey man, that's what we're gonna do. It's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be fun. I'm stoked. So thank you everyone for joining. Please remember to like, subscribe, rate, review, and more importantly, be safe out there.
Yeah. Hey, you made it to the end of the episode, and there's nothing more Frank and I can ask than a like, a subscribe, and a review. What is so hard about that?
Oh my God, people, come on, man.
Anyways, if you'd say it with me now. Oh my. Oh, hell yes. Oh, bye-bye. Recording has ended.